Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF, and on today's episode we're going to be covering the Mellow Corn. Now this is something a little bit interesting for me because I haven't really covered much in the way of kind of US and North American whiskies and stuff in a while. You know, I've covered a few odd, but have been mostly focused on actually a lot of English whiskey for a change, which is cool. You know, that's all coming through. But yeah, let's get onto this and see what we've got. There's a lot of information to get through here, so you know, strap in. And if you're only here for the actual tasting, don't forget to check the timestamps below to go ahead to those things, because I'm going to go through this label a little bit so that anyone who doesn't know what any of this means can sort of catch up with that, because there's a lot that goes into US whiskey, lots of rules and regulations, and a lot of it appears on the label, and there's a lot of more information on here than you think there is if you know how to decipher it. So yeah, what we've got here is the Mellow Corn, obviously, and this is a Heaven Hill product. They make a lot of different kind of whiskey brands, and they've got a lot of different mash bills. So obviously in the UK we just do malted barley, generally speaking. You know, there's obviously other things you can do. Scotch especially is pretty much just malted barley, apart from obviously grains and whatnot. You know, there's always and apart from obviously at the end of those things. So bourbon tends to be at least 51% corn. This right here is stated on the website as at least 80% corn. You know, that then usually is then made up with some other grains. In this case, it's probably some rye, and then there's usually a little bit of malted barley in there to get everything going. So yeah, in this case, we've got 80% corn. Now, obviously, bourbon needs to be at least 51% corn. So 80% corn, it could be called a bourbon if it wanted to be. But in this case, we've got a Kentucky straight corn whiskey, as here, you know, so aged in Kentucky, made in Kentucky, and aged in Kentucky. It's obviously a US product. The fact that it says straight means that it's at least 2 years old, and after that it needs to have an age statement until it gets to 4 years old. Then it doesn't have to have an age statement anymore. Whatever, you know. So we can tell from that it's at least 2 years old. And then on top here, another key piece of information is bottled in bond. Now that's a big one. That's got a lot of extra rules and regulations. So to go from the top of that, it first of all needs to be from one distiller in one distillery in one distilling season. And that's a January to June or a July to December in any given year. Then it needs to be sent off to a bonded warehouse to be under US government supervision for at least 4 years. That's why that's important, because now we know this is at least a 4-year-old whiskey, even though we kind of knew that anyway from the straight and the no age statement vibes. Then it needs to be bottled at exactly, I was going to say at least then, but it's exactly 50%, or in the US 100 proof, which is what we've got here. We've got a 50% alcohol whiskey. Now obviously this is a product of the US, so this has been imported over to the UK. It's fairly readily available in the UK. We pay about £30 for this. I imagine it's probably cheaper in the US, but you know, it is what it is for us. We struggle to get like really good quality bourbon over here for a reasonable price. But you know, it's getting better. It's getting better all the time. So yeah, that was a kind of a big bomb of information. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully I didn't get anything wrong. That's the important bit, but forgive me if I did. I'm not an expert on US whiskey by any stretch, or UK whiskey for that matter. Just a guy drinking whiskey. Talking of which, let's get onto this and see what we've actually got in the glass. Because it's US, I did forget one key piece of information. Rewind, is that this is, as stated on their website, aged in ex-bourbon casks, funnily enough. Usually, American whiskey, especially bourbon, has to be aged in new oak barrels. This one can be aged in new oak barrels if they want, or they can use what we would call an ex-bourbon barrel. They'd probably call it a refill or something similar to that. We would call it like a first fill ex-bourbon barrel, and that's what it's been aged in. So it's not new oak. Another important factor to have into this. Back to the old glass then. You know, no added colour, all the good things that we like. Onto the nose, see what we've got. For me, it has got very similar kind of bourbon-esque notes to it. Obviously, bourbon itself is, although it's very defined, it has a very expansive flavour profile like any kind of version of whiskey does. But for me, it's pretty typical. It's bags of oak and vanillas that you would expect to get. But for me, there's an extra layer of kind of cherries and like marzipan to it that I do get quite frequently in bourbons, but not always. And this one has it. Let's try on the palate. Yeah, I mean that's where the kind of really big 50% ABV vibes come through. It's got like everything on the nose but amplified. Huge vanilla oaky stuff going on. A little bit more of those cherries. I've lost the marzipan a little on the palate. That's just good for me. I don't really like marzipan that much. And there's a huge spicy cinnamon element to it that's really lovely. The finish is just massive. It just keeps going on and on and on. Juicy, spicy. And then, yeah, for me, I mean, that's about it there. As you can see, that probably about 20 seconds of good finish. Still got a bit of spice going on now, but that's about it. So yeah, you know, I mean, kind of a whistle-stop tour of this kind of thing. But for me, really enjoyed this. I got this for Christmas from my brother-in-law. So thanks to him for that, because really tasty. It's been on my wish list for a while. Just never pulled the trigger for some reason. Kind of always knew I would enjoy it, so I don't know why I didn't buy it. It's cheap enough, and especially in the UK, I'm talking about here. You know, in the US, I don't know how much you pay for this. Probably ridiculously cheap, but in the UK, I think if you're into your kind of American whiskies and you like those big bold flavours, this might be for you. If you're still kind of knocking around on Scotch and stuff like that, and really kind of like the lighter side of things, you know, obviously again, caveat, not all Scotch is light. We know that, you know, some really kind of heavy hitting ones. But, you know, let's say you're into your kind of your ex-bourbon, 40%, whatnot. This might be a bit much, but it's definitely worth trying for the price. Yeah, that's all I can say as a kind of like closing comment on this, is that I think it's definitely worth the money. Really tasty whiskey, something that I'm definitely going to enjoy, and it is to be enjoyed. You know, it's cheap enough. It's not going to be once a kept special. You know, this is a screw top. You know, I know a lot of people don't like that. I quite like a screw top, to be honest. They're nice and secure, technically more secure than corks, even though corks are lovely and won't degrade. But yeah, there you go. That's Mellow Corn in a package. Go and get it if you've even been remotely interested in this in the past, and if I've put this on your radar, all the better. See you again on more videos.